Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session on idea validation and MVP. Today, we'll learn how to convert your ideas into real products that people actually want. So, we'll be covering two topics: idea validation, which is how to check if your idea solves a real problem and if people will use it, and MVP, how to build a simple first version of your idea to test it quickly. So, let's start off by understanding what a startup really is. So, a startup is a temporary organization focused on finding a scalable business model, which is unlike traditional small businesses that aim for stability in local markets. So, it tries to solve a real problem in a newer, innovative way and usually aims to grow quickly. So, let's go over some of the key characteristics of a startup. Firstly, their early stage. Startups are usually just beginning their journey. They might not have a finished product yet, just an idea or a prototype. Secondly, they have high growth potential. Startups aim to grow very fast, unlike small businesses that grow slowly and steadily. For example, Zomato or Ola started small but expanded rapidly to serve millions. Thirdly, they usually solve new problems in new and creative ways and come up with innovative solutions. This could be using technology or a unique model or maybe a fresh approach that others haven't tried yet. And lastly, they have a problem solving focus. The best startups solve problems that people actually face in daily life. These problems may seem very small, but if many people have them, there's a big opportunity. Startups are very different from small businesses because they try to create something new and scalable. For example, if you open a bakery in your neighborhood, that's a small business. But if you create an app that helps people order fresh bread from any bakery in the city and you want to expand it to many cities, that's a startup. So, startup solves a real problem in a new way, usually in early stages, and always looking for a repeatable and scalable business model. But a few examples of what a startup is not: a college project done just for marks, or a small business like a bakery or tiffin service, or an app with no clear user or problem. Now, let's move on to problem identification. Firstly, I'd like you all to share your thoughts on this QR code. What's one small problem that you face every day that you'd love a solution for? Just take 3 to 4 minutes to fill this with your opinion. Okay, so I've seen some of the responses that you guys have put to the Menti. So basically, what you did just now is the first step to problem identification. So problem identification is the first step to coming up with an idea. Think about something that frustrates you or makes your life harder, and that's where many starters begin. These problems can be small or big, and the key is to notice them and ask, can this be better? Like, for example, Uber started because people found it hard to get a taxi quickly. Swiggy and Zomato started because ordering food was a hassle. So, one person has said procrastination. That's a very common problem, which most people would not think to like that it could be made into a startup. But if done right, then it could help a large number of people and it would be very scalable. So, the key to identifying problems is observation, that is, recognizing problems through direct observation of situations or processes, listening to others, understanding problems by hearing complaints or frustrations from others, and of course, personal experience, that is, identifying problems based on one's own past experiences. But once you come up with an idea, how do you know if it's worth pursuing? That's where idea validation comes in. Idea validation means testing your idea to see if it solves a real problem and if people actually want your solution. This helps you avoid wasting time and money on things nobody wants. Think of it as a reality check before you build anything big. It's like testing your recipe before opening a restaurant. You want to know if people like the taste. For example, Google Glass was a very cool idea, but it failed because people didn't really need it. It was expensive and had privacy concerns. So, the main reasons for conducting idea validation are reduces risk. Validating ideas helps identify potential pitfalls early, reducing the risk of failure. Saves resources. It ensures that resources are used efficiently by focusing on viable ideas and understanding users. It provides insights into user needs and preferences, leading to better product development. Because once you know what people actually want, you can refine your idea based on that. So, the key questions to ask when you're validating an idea are: does the idea address a genuine issue? Is it essential or redundant? Who would benefit from the idea? And would people pay for or use the idea regularly? So, now let's look at a more structured way of conducting idea validation. Here's a simple process you can follow. So, let's start with an example of a real problem you might face. It's hard to find an empty classroom or study spot on campus, especially during exams. You might waste time wandering around hoping to find a free space. So, this is the first step, that is identifying the problem. You observe, ask, and research to understand the issue. Once you have identified a problem, you define your solution. You come up with an idea, maybe an app that shows which classrooms or study areas are available in real time. This uses sensors or student check ins to update availability. So, after this, you have to test your assumptions before building the app. For example, do students really struggle to find study spaces? Would they use an app to check availability? And a very important one, are there existing solutions that work well enough? You can test these by talking to students, running a quick survey, or observing behavior during busy times. So now we come to the next step, that is gathering feedback, listening to users to collect insights. So suppose you survey like 50 students and you find that 40 say they often waste time looking for study spaces and 35 say they would definitely use such an app. Some say that they want the app to show how busy the library is and not just the classrooms. Or maybe you find out that privacy is a concern, so you decide not to track individual students and just room occupancy. So the last step is refining the idea. If the feedback is positive and students are eager to use the app as it is, you can move forward and maybe build a simple version or an MVP and test it with a small group. But if the feedback is negative or you find out that students have better ideas, you can save time and resources by not building it right away or by pivoting your idea. Now, this is a loop. After you change the idea, after you refine it, you have to gather feedback again and then accordingly change it again until you come to a version that you feel is actually perfect to put into the market. Now let's go over some of the tools and methods to validate an idea. You don't have to build the whole thing before doing it. So here are some examples. Interviews. Ask people about their problems and if they'd use your solution. So you gather in-depth feedback from individuals about the problems and solution interest. Surveys. Create a quick online survey to collect broad opinions quickly from a larger group. A landing page. This is a simple web page describing your idea just to see if people sign up. A minimum viable product, that is building a basic version with just the core features and then letting people try it. And a fake door test, offer the product as if it exists and see if people try to buy or use it. For example, Dropbox made a video demo before building the product. People loved it, so they ended up making the real thing. Here is a very important quote from Bill Gates related to this. Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. You should always look for honest feedback and not just compliments because real criticism is what helps you improve. So now I'll be taking some questions about idea validation. If you guys have any doubts or anything more you want to know, then please leave them in the comments. I'll also be sending an attendance link in the comments. So please fill that. Okay, so we have a question. How can we know if idea is scalable? So there are some indicators of whether an idea is scalable or not. Like, of course, there should be a large or a potentially growing market for the idea. Like, you should figure out if it works, then how many people could actually use it. Like, is the market for that product growing or underserved? Then you should also figure out if your business model is replicable. Like, if you can deliver it to more people without needing to put too many resources. Then there's also like you have to consider operational efficiency, like infrastructure and other stuff. whether it can handle more users without breaking down or becoming much more expensive. So it's all about like figuring out whether you can make it happen for a large crowd and whether that's actually wanted. So yeah, feedback is a very important part of it. Um, is that clear? Uh, yeah. Okay. So the next question: how to select a correct sample set for understanding if everyone wants it? Okay. So when you're um, when you're building the product, you have to think to yourself first, who are you building it for? Like you'll have some idea of who the target audience is. Like, for example, the example which I gave while explaining the process, in that the college students or the college students would be the target audience, right? So the more precisely you define your target audience, the more relevant your feedback will be. Should we first find product market fit? Um, okay, so for those of you who don't know, product market fit is like it means that your product solves a real problem for a specific group of people and they're willing to use it. So this is something that you achieve through this process of idea validation. Like it's not something that comes before. It's more like the goal of idea validation. Like before you can even think about it, you have to understand if your idea addresses a real problem. And once you do surveys and talk to potential users and understand the pain points, after that you reach a point where you can figure out if like there's a product market fit. So after you've built and tested a basic version of your product and iterated it based on real feedback, after that you reach a product market. Yeah, exactly. You search the pain point first, then think about the product, and then the fit is decided. Yeah.
Okay, so hello guys, I'm Prakul. So far, we have validated our idea. We might have spoken to users, run surveys, maybe even tested landing pages or prototypes. We now have evidence that the problem is real and worth solving. So, what is the next step? We need to build something that actually delivers value, even if it's basic. That's where MVP, or the minimum viable product, comes in. It's our first real interaction with users through a working product, and it's built to learn, not to impress. So, what is MVP? A MVP is the most basic functional version of a product that solves a core problem, contain only essential features, is used to quickly test the idea in the real world, and help team learn what users actually want before scaling. An MVP is not about launching an incomplete product. It is a smart way to test your assumptions without wasting time and money. It's meant to answer one key question: do users actually want this? The goal is learning. You launch fast, gather feedback, and then build better. There is a simple MVP strategy: address the issue, include only necessary functionalities, validate the product, and gather insights for future development. There are examples of many famous MVPs. Let's take a look at how some of today's biggest companies started out with a very simple MVP. Nothing fancy, just smart. Facebook. Facebook began as a basic student directory, just for Harvard students. No news feed, no photos, no videos, just a way to connect with classmates. Once it gained traction, they slowly opened it up to other universities and features followed. The second one, Airbnb. You all might have heard about this. Airbnb is a classic MVP story. The founders couldn't afford rent, so they inflated a few air mattresses in their living room and listed them online for a design conference in town. That first weekend proved the concept. People were willing to pay for to stay in strangers' homes. As Anusha talked about Dropbox, Dropbox had a very smart MVP story. They didn't build a product at all in the beginning. They made a simple 2-minute video that explained how it would work. Thousands of people signed up, which was proof that people needed it. That's what convinced investors and justifies building the actual tech. Zappos. Zappos, the online shoe giant, also started very scrappily. The founder took photos of shoes at local stores and uploaded them online. When someone ordered, he would go back to the store, buy the shoes, and ship them himself. No warehouses, no logistics. Just testing if people were ready to buy shoes online. So, all of these companies started small and focused. They didn't wait for the perfect product. They launched early, validated demand, and then scaled. That's the power of a good MVP. Now, the next key step is building the MVP. There are simple steps to create a strong MVP. Identify a specific problem where your product aims to solve. Decide on the single most important feature that addresses it. Build a stripped down version that works without any extra features. Launch it to a small group of real users as early as possible. The goal is to validate the idea quickly, not to build a finished product. You don't need a full product to get started. Just figure out what's the minimum I need to solve the user's problem. Cut out all extras, fancy designs, multiple features, and build only the essence. The quicker you get it out, the quicker you learn. So, guys, scan this QR code and tell if do you believe every product idea should be perfect before launch, and also tell in the comments your reason for polling on yes or no. We'll start in 5 minutes. Okay, so one person asked, was the Facebook MVP ever created? Like, wasn't it Face Smash which developed into Facebook? So that is a different story. Actually, Face Smash was not particularly an MVP. Mark Zuckerberg created it while at Harvard. However, it was shut down by Harvard administrators within few days. So it was not considered to be actually an MVP of Facebook. Okay, so yeah, you can't say that there is a perfect idea before a launch. MVP stands all along those lines that you create a product, get feedback, and reiterate it to a better version of that MVP. So, yeah, we'll move forward. As we talked about it, after building the MVP, the next most important thing is feedback and iteration. What comes after launching an MVP? Collect user feedback through real world usage, analyze what works, what doesn't, and what users truly need. Make small, quick changes, refine features, or pivot the idea, and repeat the cycle of build, measure, learn, and improve. The MVP process is about continuous learning and adaptation. As my co presenter Anushka explained about idea validation through an example of finding a place to study during exam times, this is a brilliant idea. But now, what is the next step? Creating an MVP. For example, you can create a website listing different places where you can study with average rush at these places at different times of the day. Now you have an MVP. Now, all you have to do is follow the MVP iteration cycle. Collect feedback, analyze all the insights, implement small quick refinements, and continuously iterate and improve the MVP. After launch, your job isn't done. It's just the beginning. MVP gives you the raw truth from users. Maybe they didn't care about a feature you thought was crucial, or maybe they found new issues. Use this data to refine your product step by step. MVP is a mindset: build, measure, learn. So now we'll look on to some more real MVP stories that grew big. You all have you all might have heard about Instagram. So Instagram wasn't always the clean photo sharing app that we know. It actually began as a messy app called Bourbon, which had too many features: check ins, plans, rewards, and photo sharing. But the team noticed users only cared about one thing: posting photos. So they pivoted and launched a stripped down version focused only on photo sharing. And that's what exploded. Another app, Twitter. Twitter came from an unexpected place. A struggling podcasting company called Audio. The team built an internal tool to share status updates. That tool turned out to be more promising than their original business. So they pivoted and Twitter was born. Amazon, the e commerce giant, started in a very narrow niche. It started with just selling books. Jeff Bezos manually ordered them from distributors and shipped them himself. There was no warehouse or automation. The MVP was a simple website that helped test if people were willing to buy books online. Spotify. Spotify launched its MVP as a desktop only app, limited to users in Sweden. It had only one goal: prove that fast legal music streaming was something users wanted. It worked, and with feedback and gradual scaling, Spotify became the global music platform we know today. The key takeaways from these companies didn't start out with massive platforms. They started with small, smart MVPs, listened to users, and grew based on real feedback. That's how great products are born. So now we'll look at the final thoughts from all the presentation of idea validation and MVP. An MVP is not about launching a light version. It's about launching a smart starting point from where you can test assumptions quickly, learn what users really want, avoid wasting time and resources, and build the right product, not just any product. You're not launching a product, you are launching a learning engine. The MVP mindset is at the heart of innovation. Every big product you use today once looked like a tiny side project. What matters isn't how polished your launch is. What matters is whether you learn fast and improve. That's the power of MVP. So we'll end it by a very famous quote of Eric Rice: build something simple, launch it fast, learn from it, and improve. Okay. So, guys, if you have any doubts or any questions regarding MVP, you can put in the comment box. Okay, so yeah, Pratham, I agree with you. There should be some points that should be systematic so that the idea is not stolen. So you should build your MVP from a strong base on which you are building or you are providing new features. So your base should be strong and should not be very shaky or changing. So yeah, that's true. So one question is two people max we start working on idea with? Uh, there is not a max number, I would say, but two people is a very good number. And many tech companies, tech giants like Google, Apple have started with two founders. And it is a great way as you can have faster decisions, you can iterate quickly. It is very easy to manage as it's just two people. But more than the number of people, one thing that is important is that your idea and your MVP should fit the market that you're trying to create. There should be no confusion in that. Yeah. Also, guys, we have sent the attendance link again. Everyone who have filled the attendance form before also, please fill it again. Okay, so one more question. I'm confused. I have a strong idea with market research with more than 500 personal report, but the technical thing what needs to be built is a big task as a lone founder. So in such case, like obviously there are two alternatives. Either you can find a technical co-founder who has the same idea for the MVP as you. This will provide complementary skills, your ideas, and his technical ideas can help you. Or else, as I gave an example of Dropbox, they didn't create a product at first. They only created a 2-minute video of what they wanted to provide from that MVP. That same thing can be done, and many companies before many I should say startups before scaling, they create a video, create a platform where they can tell what their product actually wants to do even before even creating that, as they don't have enough resources. So yeah, that's another thing. Was it okay, Pratham, or any other doubts? Yeah, we are extremely sorry for the delay. There was a technical difficulty, and yeah.
So, guys, if you want to learn more about idea validation or like making an MVP, we do have programs for that. Like for idea validation, we conduct Idea Storm, which is going to be coming up pretty soon. It will start in the beginning of August. So, look out for that if you want to attend more sessions on how to develop an idea and make it fit for um, the market, like understanding the product market fit, as you said. And if you want to learn how to work on the MVP part, we also have another event called Upscale, which will come a little bit later. So keep an eye out for those to get more practical learning on these topics. So thank you guys so much for attending the session. If you still have more questions, you can put them on the group later and we'd be happy to answer them later on. And yeah, that will be the end of the session. Thank you for attending it.